Welcome back. In this lecture, you are going to be learning something super exciting. You are going to learn how to use ChatGPT for coding and web development. And this is huge. Out of all the different industries, coding and web development, ChatGPT has the ability to make your life so much easier if you're working within this industry. So in this lecture, we're going to look at a couple of applications that is going to save you a ton of time and probably going to improve the way you write code right away. We're going to look at multiple examples. So let's dive in. You're probably going to be using something like Visual Studio, but I'm going to be using playcode.io, and I'm going to start off with a JavaScript here. So let's say I have written an average function, and for some reason, it's just not working out. If I look down at console, I'm getting the error that the average is undefined. Why? So when it comes to coding, a huge part of it is debugging. I need to understand what has gone wrong in here. This is something that can take a lot of time. Well, this is a very simple piece of script. If you have a huge amount of script and you know there's an error somewhere in there, you are in for a very time-consuming task. However, what we can do is just go ahead and grab all of this code, copy it, move into ChatGPT here, and I'm going to say, I'm getting the error average is undefined. Help me debug this code. I'm going to jump down 2 lines and then I'm going to paste this in. So the prompt that you want to use here is help me debug this code. I didn't necessarily need to write that I'm getting this error, but the most important part is help me debug this code. So rather than you looking through the entire code, ChatGPT will. So let's send it away. And then ChatGPT says, the issue with your current code is that the average function does not return anything. That's spot on. You're logging the average inside the function, but you're not sending it back to be used as the result of the function. So looking down, the first thing it does is that it rewrites the code for me and makes it correct. I can just go ahead and click on copy code here. But what is interesting when you're using this, not just for practical purposes, but to learn as well, just quickly glossing over, we can see that the error that I was in here was that I was using the console log both up here for this function and also down here. What I needed to use was a return here instead of a console log. So with the code already completed, I'm just going to copy it, head back here. I'm going to remove this code. I'm going to paste it in. And now we're getting the average is 15 and there is no error. And this is a short and simple piece of script, but when you're working with huge codes and scripts, oh wow, being able to send that into ChatGPT, asking it to debug, it is such a game changer that it is unbelievable. So that's the debugging function. Now let's take another example. Chances are, especially when you're working for someone else as a coder, you are going to be having these moments when you're looking at a piece of code and you're going to say, what exactly is this? Well, not to worry, because ChatGPT can explain to you exactly what that is. So let's say that we have a piece of code. Let's look at this one. This is a Python code. It's pretty big and I don't know what it is. So all I could do is ask ChatGPT, explain this code, paste it in, and send it away. Amazingly, you're not only getting an explanation of what it is, it's a Python script that creates a simple dice game between 2 players, but also you're getting a breakdown of the different functions and variables in the game itself. Again, if you're working for companies and there's a lot of code in there and you need to understand it, this is such a game changer. It's incredible. So whenever you need to understand a piece of code, you copy it and then you paste it in and then you ask ChatGPT, what on earth is this? Maybe just ask it to explain it. You can also transform any piece of code. So for example, you could ask, turn this into JavaScript. Now I don't have to paste this code in again. It will simply remember and understand the context of what I am referring to, since I just added the code in the conversation. That is why we keep one topic per conversation, because ChatGPT remembers. But if this was a new conversation, I would say turn this into JavaScript and then I would paste the code in. But now I don't need to. I'm going to send this away. And there we go. This JavaScript code does the same thing as the Python code. It sets up a simple dice game between 2 players, Alice and Bob. Great choices of names too. So let's say I want to turn this into HTML. I'd write it, send it away. And again, here's the results. And you know, I have to say not bad, and we get an explanation down at the end. So needless to say, the applications of ChatGPT within coding and within web development is unbelievable. Now, honestly, how long would it take you to write this amount of code? And we're just scratching the surface here. ChatGPT can write so much more complex and so much bigger codes, especially if you are someone who's really good at Python or at JavaScript or HTML or CSS, and you know what you're doing. Well, if you know what you're doing within coding and you know what you're you're doing with ChatGPT, you will be unstoppable. Your coding and web development will be taken to the next level. This is an absolute game changer. Now, for one of my favorite applications beyond debugging, here's something else you can do. You could use templates for your coding. So let's use an example. Give me the code template for creating a language app in JavaScript and fetching the API for translation. And let's send this away. And then here's the template. Now make sure that you read through the instructions as well, because there's going to be a lot of parts in here that you're going to need to exchange with your own data. Since it doesn't have all of the information, for example, it doesn't have your actual API key or the service that you will be using, you need to add that information in, and ChatGPT is going to explain where that is and what needs to be done. So remember, whenever you're looking to do anything within any coding program, within any form of development, use ChatGPT. Fetch templates so that it makes your coding life easier. Ask it to explain codes, transfer between different types of programs, use it for debugging. But also remember, ChatGPT will make mistakes. There will be codes in here that doesn't make sense, that will just be plain wrong and that will be broken. While ChatGPT will certainly be more accurate than humans, it's still going to be making mistakes. Ironically, if you get a piece of code that isn't working, you could send it into ChatGPT and ask it to debug that code. Again, huge time saver and the ability to take your skills to the next level. So with that said, use your imagination. What sort of template do you need? What sort of code aren't you understanding? What do you need to quickly debug? Put it into practice, because that is where the real value is. Amazingly well done. See you in the next lecture.